Hi everyone, welcome to this week's career questions at the Artless Dialogue. As always, it's me, Ash Mohammed, and as always, Saud Wakar with me. Hi Saud.
Hello, hi everyone.
Hello. Right, so this week's question, which is probably a question I've had the most asked me, certainly in my mentoring kind of sessions, and which is, I'm doing really well in my performance, but I'm not progressing my career. So, and it's usually followed by, what am I doing wrong? It's what is usually followed by. So, Saud, what do you think? What's your thoughts on this? What's your kind of
I think
magic bullet?
I think it's a common question, and I think there's a big answer to it. So I'd split this answer into three possible things: internal, external, and communication. That's what I thought. So I'd start off with internal, and Ash, let me know what you think. So I think that you should start off by thinking about what does your team need, because to progress you have to meet the requirements of your team. Do they need data skills? Do they need industry expertise for a certain area? And do you provide this or not? The second internal factor I think would be is that do you have the skills to operate at the higher level which you want to? Like, for example, if you're a manager, you could be performing as an excellent manager. You could be getting good performance reviews, but you're not ready to become senior manager. You're not ready to become a manager of managers. So there could be a skill gap. You could be doing your current level excellent, but leadership might not see you stepping up right now. So that could be a reason as well. So I think these are two internal factors I should focus on as well. What do you think, Ash?
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. And I've probably come up with taking probably a few step backs before that, because I think they're the right actions to take. And the thing I always kind of will come back to people on is going, how well, firstly, where do you think you are
Hmm.
in the scope of, where you think you are against your role? How well do you think you're performing versus I'm ready for the next role? And
Hmm.
people often don't understand the difference, which is I'm a high performer, but why does that immediately equate to career progression? Because they're not the same skills, which I think your point, which is spot on. So say you're in a technology type role, and you're going, I'm brilliant at this thing, coding or whatever, and I'm the best. So I'm scoring, top performer, and then they're not progressing their career, and they're going, but why? And you're like, but that's a whole different set of skills.
Hmm.
And so that's one bit, which is, do I know what set of skills I need for the next step
Yeah.
versus I'm really good at what I do today. The second bit then is what I call signaling.
Hmm.
So how many conversations are you having with your leadership, etc., senior management, talking about career progression? And signal also means about how are you then perceived across the leadership, how are you perceived across the organization as the next leader. And it's amazing how little the signaling happens, because people I guess naturally think I'm going to be a top performer, and then someone's going to come and tap me on the shoulder and go, Ash, right, you've been a top performer for 2 years, here's a promotion, off you go. And it just doesn't happen. I don't think I've been in an organization where someone's just gone, here's a promotion,
Yeah.
for doing really well. What often happens is, if you're signaling, which is, I'm aware of what my position is now, I'm aware of what skills I need to do a really good job, I'm aware of I want to progress, I've told explicitly people around me that I want to progress, I've understood the skills I need to progress,
Hmm.
and I've worked, or I am working towards them. And the most important bit with that is I'm doing that visibly to the leadership around me. And that's the other trick bit, which is that how visibly are you doing that? Because if you're
Yeah.
sitting in the corner going, I'm reading all these cool books about managerial skills, but nobody knows that, and you're not practicing that in your day job, then
Hmm.
again, I think sometimes people think people are psychic. And so that's kind of the thing for me. And where that becomes a challenge is when we talked about this in a previous episode, interviewing.
Hmm.
And I find the most kind of common sort of challenge people face when they're interviewing for a more senior position is they tell me how good they are in their current job. and they tell me all the skills they have in their current job. But what they don't do is express what they've done or how that translates into the next career step. And so what you end up going is, you just told me you're a brilliant performer, right? Fantastic. But you haven't evidenced, for example, leadership skills.
Yep.
And you've told me you're great at task management. You've told me you're a really good performer at this technical job, but you've told me nothing about leadership. You've told me nothing about setting strategies. You've told me nothing about managing a team, et cetera, et cetera. So that's probably my kind of view on that.
Yeah, and that was in line with my second point as well. I had called it communication, but I think your term signaling is quite better.
Yeah.
So yeah, just to add on that, I think that what a lot of people don't do is have that conversation, similar to what you said, but also mention that I want to step up. How specifically, what do I have to work on to meet that gap? And then have smart goals so that okay, I can measure this certain thing I'm supposed to do. Like, I did one training session last year, I'm supposed to train people more, so I do 5 training sessions this year. That's something you can actually go back and say, I worked on this, it was 1 last year, it's 5 this year. I think that's a big part of communication. I think other than that, Ash, you pretty much covered up that portion as well. But there is a third part that I was thinking about, which is external from you and your team. It is the industry, sector, team, department, company you're working on in growing? Is it a growing field? Is the revenue increasing? Are they getting more customers? Because if you're growing, company is growing rapidly, there will be more opportunities opening up. And then there are some very mature companies which are structured in a way that you won't get the higher spot until that person leaves. So in some places it's easier naturally to get promotions or progress your career, and in some corporations it's harder naturally with no fault of your manager or your team or yourself. So I think that's a factor you should think about as well.
I completely agree. I think environmental is kind of huge in terms of your environment. And there's a really good metaphor I kind of read somewhere. Someone might have told me, I forget. But it basically said, like, if you think about your organization as a river, right? And you're a fisherman or a fisherwoman or a fisher person, and you're fishing there, and that's you kind of looking for your career move. You can either stand still, right? Go find a spot on the bank and go fishing, and you will catch a fish because, the river moves, like you said, career opportunities come, organizations change, career opportunities will come. Or you could get your big wading boots on, like the anglers do, and go into the river and start walking up and down the river and finding opportunities. And what that sometimes means is, because that's a lot more uncomfortable, because you're going to go into the river. It feels a bit more wobbly and you're going to get wet, and it's going to feel a bit more dangerous and nerve-wracking. And that's the same concept as I was having a mentoring conversation with someone who's external in a smallish kind of organization, who having this very same conversation going, I'm brilliant at my day job. Everyone tells me I'm brilliant. I'm a high performer, but my career progression has stopped. And we 6 months ago, we had all these discussions about, making sure you understand your gaps between the next job from a development perspective, both technical and soft skills. And they were like, done that. Signaling, done that. Total leadership, very explicitly, but there's no opportunity. And there's a point where you go, right, well, there's no opportunity and you've done all the right things. You need to kind of look broader, look at different organizations, maybe look at different industries. And that's difficult. And, we'll talk in the future probably about, the house of change and how people feel, going through any type of change. Yeah. And people, therefore, don't sometimes think that actually a lot of the skills are transferable. Or I'm going to go and start another organization. You don't have to start from scratch. People always assume it's a new organization. I'm going to have to start from scratch. I can't do that. I've committed too much time. I've invested too much time into this company. I'm not willing to leave. So sometimes, career progression might stop, just exactly like you said, Saud, because there's other factors you cannot control.
Yeah.
And you just need to be aware of that. And if you're aware of that and you've been very self-aware, because I think that's the other thing, strong self-awareness is required, because you might think you're awesome. And then you go ask for some feedback and everyone's like, well, I think you're great at your day job, but, in terms of leadership, would I give you a leadership job? Well, not really, because I think that I either haven't seen or I don't think you're there. So,
Yeah.
feedback is really important just to make sure, are you really there or are you just kind of kidding yourself? But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good. That reminded me of the last point. Reminded me of something as well. I read somewhere that someone said someone was an associate at a bank and they said that I'm great at Excel, I'm knocking it out the park, but they're not promoting me to VP. Why aren't they doing that? And someone replied to them that you're great at Excel and that's what you do at the level you're at. But to become VP, you have to be good at sales. So why would they want to promote you? You're not good at sales, you're great at Excel.
Yeah.
For them, you being at associate for the next 10 years is ideal. So focus on sales, show that to your firm, and that's how you'll get promoted. I think that was relevant to what you were saying before. And I think that's good answer to the question as well. So anything else to add, Ash?
No, I think there's probably there's lots in there, and we could probably talk to death about most of it. But the benefit of YouTube is people can go back and pause and think about some of that. But I think there's some really valuable points if people watching this are in that space. Check what your people around you think, whether you're ready or not. Make sure you've got a clear development plan that's technical and includes soft skills.
Yep.
Understand the environment. What are my opportunities versus what you're willing to do? And then be brave. Go for it. Don't let anything stand in your way. Don't second guess yourself, and just go for it, because what's the worst that can happen?
Fortune favors the bold.
Fortune. That's a brilliant way. I think that we should end it like that. Done.
If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And if you want similar content, check out our other videos.